Hello and welcome to this video where we're going to look at the Eredivisie and the squad rules you can use for FIFA to make it a bit more realistic. You might notice this video is a bit shorter than my other videos. That's simply because the Eredivisie doesn't actually have too many squad rules in real life. Unlike most leagues where there will be a limit of 25 or 30 players that you can use, the Eredivisie doesn't actually have a limit. You can have as many players registered as you like, so there's no real limit to what you can do with your squad on FIFA. The only rule they have is a £3,800 per week or a €4,200 per week wage cap for non-EU players, so they have to be on more than this wage. So with the very simple squad rules out of the way, let's move on to the youth academy. As you'd expect, Dutch is the most common nationality in the Netherlands leagues, with German, Belgian, Sweden, Moroccan, Greece, French, Norwegian, Turkish, Spanish and Brazilian rounding out the top 10. With 34 Germans, 23 Belgians and 12 Swedish people in the league already, these are the nations you'll really want to be scouting alongside Netherlands. You've also got Morocco, Greece, France, Norway, who all have between 5 and 10 players, and then there's 5 Turks, Spaniards and Brazilians in the league. If you want to make things interesting, maybe scout one of these less common leagues for a few months, but the majority of your time you should have a scout in Netherlands, Germany and then Belgium or Sweden. Now on to the player rating limits. So for me, I think an 85 rated if you're in the Champions League is about the most you can justify for the Eredivisie. 82 for the Europa League, 78 for a mid-table team, and if you're towards the bottom of the league, a 75. This is based on what the teams already have. Of course, there's been a few 84s, 85s playing for Ajax in the past, which is where that Champions League rating comes from. The Europa League tier is based on PSV and Feyenoord level teams, so they max out around 82. The mid-table teams, so that's Vitesse and Twente, people like that, again, don't have too many players over 78 rated, and you'll be lucky to find anyone close to 75 in the Waalwijk or Den Haag teams. So moving on from the player ratings, I've chosen to split the teams into 3 different tiers. You've got the better quality Ajax, PSV and Feyenoord with some of the world's best academies and a long history of producing massive, well-known players. You've got the high potential teams, so these are like Vitesse, who have one of the biggest budgets in the league, and FC Twente, who were former champions only around 10 years ago. And then you have the Road to Glory teams, so that's Waalwijk and Den Haag. In terms of real stadiums in the Eredivisie, there's only a single stadium. This is the stadium that's used by Ajax and also is the home stadium of the Netherlands national team, the Johan Cruyff Arena. Of course, this is fairly disappointing if you're planning on playing as someone like Vitesse or PSV, who have fairly unique stadiums in real life. But you can go into the edit mode and give each of the 18 teams a different stadium just to spice things up for your career mode if that's something that you'd like to do. So you've got the teams, you've got the players, you've got the scouting and you have the stadiums. So the last thing we need to look at is the realistic signings. A lot of Dutch teams like to sign German second division players, so you could sign the likes of Amadou, Onana, Vangoman or Ludovit Reis, who are all in the correct age group and budget range that a team from Holland would look to sign a player from. A lot of high potential Scandinavians do go via Netherlands on their way to the bigger leagues, so if you scout Sweden, Denmark or Norway, sign any high potential players, any young players, maybe you can find your own Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Finally, a lot of the Dutch teams have a fair amount of North African and South American young players. So if you're scouting Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Argentina, Brazil, you'll have a fairly realistic balance of a decent amount of Dutch players, some German and Belgian players from their second divisions, some high potential Scandinavians, and then your North African and South American players. This will be a fairly realistic balance, and that's what you'll see in most of the teams. The higher the tier the team is in, so the better quality teams, they all have more German players and more South American players, whereas the lower down teams tend to favour the North American and Scandinavian players. Maybe that's a change that you can make in your squad as you progress. So, like I said at the start, this is a shorter video, but that's just because Holland itself is fairly lenient on the player rules and it doesn't have squad caps or foreign player limits. But of course this gives you a bit more wiggle room to play how you like to play. With the lack of non-EU player regulations, you could even roleplay and say that your team was signed by a Chinese investor or something, sign a bunch of Chinese players, or pretend that Elon Musk support you with his Dutch heritage and only sign South African and American players or something like that. So I hope you can see there is some good role playing you can make fairly realistic if you can justify it in your own head. So, like always, thank you for watching, and if you have any recommendations for other leagues that I can do, let me know. If you liked it, give me a like, that would be appreciated, and feel free to subscribe for more little league guides like this. And if you have any suggestions for other things that I can talk about in these videos, let me know and I'll add them in. So thanks for watching, and goodbye.